Hello everyone! Chapter 4, Part 3, Learning Target 7, we're graphing! This is Miss Osier.
And Miss LaHart.
And here we go.
So we're doing sine and cosecant because they kind of go together. You can't do one
without the other.
Without the other.
Like
one
us.
builds the other and so
It's
on
like
and so
Miss LaHart
forth.
and Miss Osier.
I know, you can't have one of us without both of us anyway.
Okay, so graphs should be in radians because that's a thing.
Yeah.
However, we get that degrees are easier for you to understand, so you might want to deal with both. But that's why our x's have the 0 and that, okay?
Yep.
These are coming from your quadrantal angles.
And if you hit enter, I think a unit circle pops up. Because remember, the sine value is equivalent to the
Y term.
y. So we're gonna go around this circle and we're gonna graph as we go. So at x equals 0 degrees, what's our y value?
It is in fact 0.
0. So okay, we're gonna go boom. So we're graphing right now y equals sine of x. So just the standard function.
Yes. Now notice we didn't put -1 and 1 here and here. No, we put them up there, so it's a nice, pretty graph, right? You make your own scale.
So then at 90 degrees, the y value is 1. So
Boom.
there's our point, and then at 180, it's 0. At 270, it's -1.
Again, we're
and
going
then it's 0.
around the unit circle.
Okay? And that's your flow. You connect your dots in a sinusoidal
That's really
curve.
pretty.
Fun fact, sine is an odd function, so that means when you pop in opposites, it pop out opposites, okay? So positive 180 and negative 180 would pop out the opposite values.
Or it has symmetry through the origin.
That as well.
Had to get
And
my
that's your
geometry
basic
in.
sine curve. You just got to remember that sine starts at 0, and then you have 5 critical points in the region of 4 intervals because you have 4 quadrants.
If we talk about a sine function, you should be able to draw this. Okay.
Starting at 0.
So now let's talk about cosecant. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So again, let's think about what we just did. If
Okay.
we do the reciprocal of 0, that's undefined.
Right, because you would technically have 0 over 0, and you can't have 0 in the denominator, so 0 is undefined. At 1, what's the reciprocal of 1?
1.
Okay, and then again we got 0, so we're undefined again. Reciprocal of -1 is 1, or
Is
negative 1,
-1.
excuse me. And then we got undefined. So what this means is you actually have to draw yourself the sine curve, and then off of those values, wherever it's at 0, you're going to draw asymptotes.
Yes, so the undefined, so where it's at 0, we know that that is undefined because the reciprocal of 0 is undefined. And then the other ones, you swoop or you boop.
Yep.
Or we figure, what did we do? Swoops? I don't remember. Either
don't
way,
remember
we
this
have a
was.
sound effect. I can't remember.
But
what it
you're
is.
going to have to draw the sine function that goes with it, and then using the sine using that, you base your cosecant off of that.
You go up or you go down.
So those
Either
are the
way.
basic flows. So now we're actually going to do an example. Here are your steps. You know, first you identify your amplitude, frequency, period. Then using that, you find what you're putting on your x and y axis. You divide your period by 4 because you've got 4 quadrants. So that's why we have 4 intervals. And then you've got 5 critical points, and usually we ask you to draw 2.
Yes. So here we go. My amplitude is 3. My frequency, we're graphing it. My frequency is 4. Therefore, my period, 2 pi divided by 4 is pi over 2.
Okay, so now you can see that the 3 popped up as my amplitude on my y-axis. I went up 3, down -3. I have 4 intervals to the right of 0 degree, and to the left. So we're going to graph this on -2 pi to +2 pi. It's just easier because you don't have to rethink of another quadrant. You know what I mean?
So now remember, if your period is pi over 2, that means one cycle, so a 0 up, 0 down, 0, ends at pi over 2. So to find those critical points, you have to cut that into 4 equal pieces.
Okay, so basically you're cutting into your 4 quadrants. So what is, now most people just deal with the fraction. You don't have to deal with the pi.
Right.
Just deal with the fraction 1 over 2. You divide it by 4. That's going to pop out 1/8. So that means pi over 8 is where each interval is going. It's each pi over 8.
So this would be pi over 8, 2 pi's over 8, 3 pi's over 8. Now you can just use your calculator and do an eighth plus an eighth. It's going to reduce it for you because you should know that 2/8 is a fourth.
So that's my next interval.
And then add an eighth to that. So 2/8 plus an eighth would be 3/8.
So
And
there
then
we
you
go.
have 3 pi over 8. And again, all we're doing over here is just putting the negative value because if you're going in that distance positive, you're also going in that distance negative.
So now that you have your critical values, you can just start plugging in your sine curve. You know that it starts at 0, it goes up to 1, well technically 3 because of our amplitude, back to 0, back to -3 and 0.
Boom.
And then you just work your way back and
Connect it with smooth curves.
smooth curves. And let's not make fun of Miss LaHart's PowerPoint. We
I
tried.
think they're beautiful.
I think they did good.
Okay.
All right, cosecant.
Cosecant. So same exact thing as sine, because remember, it's the reciprocal of sine. So you're going to go through the exact same process. Amplitude, frequency, period,
Ooh, 4 pi. That makes it
Oh,
nice.
I was going to say yay, because 4 divided by 4 is 1 people. So we have pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi.
Okay, so, there's our intervals. Boom.
Now remember, we graph sine to graph cosecant. So we do 0 amplitude, 0 negative amplitude, 0.
You don't put your curves in. I think you got to keep hitting some of my other
sorry, we
points
gotta
come
get
up.
the other ones.
So then wherever you're at the x-axis, you're going to put in asymptotes.
Because the reciprocal of 0 is undefined.
And then your critical, those high critical points, you just make good old parabolas facing down, facing up.
There we go.
And that's cosecant.
That's it. Cosine and secant next time. Have a wonderful day.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see you in class.